Hi folks, Ben Starr here from MasterChef Season 2, and I'm super excited today because we are working with pumpkin, my favorite ingredient, obviously. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a pumpkin apple gingerbread. It's so good. I love to make this for special breakfasts during the autumn when I can use fresh pumpkin and it's delicious. And also the leftovers make the most amazing French toast you had in your entire life. So we're going to go ahead and get started. In the mixer here, I have 8 ounces or 2 sticks of unsalted butter that has been allowed to soften just a little bit at room temperature for about 30 or 45 minutes. And we're going to add to that a cup of white sugar. That is called creaming, and while that creams, we're going to work with our dry ingredients. Here I've got 3½ cups of all-purpose flour, and to that we're adding ½ a teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon and a half of baking powder, a teaspoon of baking soda, and our spices. 2 tablespoons of ground ginger, thus the gingerbread. A tablespoon of cardamom. And I always get flack from people when they say, cardamom? Wait, that's like an Asian and African spice. What are you doing putting it in the sweet pumpkin dish? I have just kind of accidentally stumbled upon the pairing of cardamom and pumpkin, and it is so good. I use it in virtually every application where I use pumpkin, and people always say that it's extraordinary. I've also got a teaspoon of cinnamon and a ½ teaspoon each of clove and nutmeg. We're going to add those in and just kind of stir them around with my fingers. I've always stirred my dry ingredients together with my fingers. I don't know why, it feels good. I like it. Okay, our butter and sugar are creaming together nicely over here. We're going to do a quick scrape down. And that's important to do regularly when you're working with a stand mixer because you want to make sure everything gets perfectly incorporated. Okay, we're going to let that go just a little bit longer. And while it's going, I'm going to add to it ½ a cup of brown sugar. Brown sugar, indispensable in gingerbread. Okay, that's looking very nice. You really want to give your butter and sugar about 5 minutes to cream together. That makes sure each individual grain of sugar is wrapped in butter fat. Gives you a better texture and a higher rise. All right. Now we're going to continue to add our wet ingredients. Another indispensable ingredient for gingerbread is molasses. I cannot live without molasses. I cook with it all the time. We've got ½ a cup of molasses here. That gives a nice, dark, pungent sweetness to our gingerbread. So good. Okay. And, of course, the star ingredient, a can of pumpkin. Now, in the fall, when pumpkin is available in your grocery store, you can use fresh pumpkin. I'm going to tell you how to do that in 2 seconds. We're also going to add a tablespoon of instant coffee or espresso powder that's been dissolved in 1 teaspoon of hot water, and that also gives some depth to the gingerbread. All right, that's going to start going. Let me tell you how to prepare your pumpkin if you're using a fresh pumpkin. You get your pumpkin. It's better to use the sugar pumpkins, but you can also use the jack-o'-lantern pumpkins too. Cut it in half, scoop out the seeds and the pulp, throw them away. Then put your pumpkin halves cut side down in a roasting pan. Put it in the oven at 350 degrees for about an hour or an hour and a half. It just kind of depends on the size of your pumpkin. You'll know it's done when you take a spoon and you push on the edge of the pumpkin and the pumpkin gives just a little bit and it's soft. Take it out of the oven, let it cool down fully first. Scoop it out with a spoon, put it in your food processor, blend it up, and you've got fresh pumpkin puree that will totally change the flavor profile of this gingerbread or any application that you use it in. Fresh pumpkin and canned pumpkin have 2 totally different flavors and textures. All right, so we're going to scrape down our sides again just to make sure everything is being properly incorporated. I just love making gingerbread in the fall. When I do, all the neighbors can smell it baking. And by the time it comes out of the oven, I've got a whole table full of people waiting for it. Okay. So now we're going to get ready to add our dry ingredients as well as our eggs. All right, I'm going to do one more scraping down. And then we're going to add the dry ingredients and the eggs alternately, one at a time. 1 egg, a little bit of dry. 1 egg, a little bit of dry. We're going to turn down the speed of our mixer to make sure we're not beating the dry ingredients too much so that we overdevelop the gluten in the flour and end up with a tough gingerbread. Okay, so we're going to start with one of the eggs. And about a cup of the dry ingredients. Now you're going to wait till you can't see any more dry ingredients before you add the next egg. That's pretty well incorporated. In goes egg number 2. Give that just a little bit. And about another cup of our dry ingredients. And we're looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and scrape down the sides one more time. You really can't do that enough. You don't want to come up with a whole bunch of butter or a whole bunch of flour, even worse, on the very bottom of your bowl at the end when you're scraping it into your loaf pan. Okay, and it's time for egg number 3. And another cup or so of our flour. And finally, egg number 4. And the remainder of our flour. I told you I was a messy cook. All right, let that finish incorporating. While we prep our final ingredients, I told you this was a pumpkin apple gingerbread. We have 2 different styles of cut for our apple to add. The first is shredded. I've got 1 whole apple that's just been shredded on the grater, and we're going to go ahead and add those right now. And when those are well incorporated, we stop our mixer and remove our bowl. Get all that yummy batter off of the paddle. And this is the point where you have to fight off everybody that loves to eat raw batter, which I personally think is pretty disgusting, but all my friends love it and they just go for it. I'm like, no, there's raw eggs. Okay, so now we're adding 1 apple that's been diced. This is just going to give us a little bit of texture on the inside of the gingerbread. And we're just going to fold that in gently. This helps the batter come together perfectly at the end. Now, you want to prep a nice big loaf pan by spraying it with cooking spray or buttering it. Sprinkle a little bit of flour into the pan if you know that your pan is a sticky pan. I've got a really nice nonstick pan here. I probably don't even need cooking spray. And we are going to transfer our batter to the loaf pan. And as you do this, you really want to press down to make sure that you don't have any giant air bubbles at the bottom. Sometimes you just got to use your fingers. Nobody ever said cooking wasn't messy. Okay, so you're going to fill your loaf pan not quite to the rim. If you fill it much higher than that, it's really going to spill over the sides, and you might make a big old mess in your oven. My loaf pan is actually a little bit smaller than the amount of batter that I've made, so I can use that batter to make cupcakes or another loaf. So just smooth off the top of your batter here and clean off any batter that's stuck to the sides because that will burn in the oven, and burnt gingerbread is not good. And you're ready for the oven. This is going to bake at 350 degrees for about an hour. And you're going to know it's done if you stick a toothpick into the center of it and it comes out without any streaks of batter. If it comes out with a crumb or two, that's fine, but no streaks. And now the hard part, waiting. And when your pumpkin gingerbread comes out of the oven, let it cool in the loaf pan for about 10 minutes, then gently roll it out onto a cooling rack and let it come to a completely cool state before you try to slice it. If you slice it too early, it's just going to collapse into crumbles. It'll still taste good, but it won't look very good. I prefer to make this loaf the day before, let it stale overnight because it's a very delicate bread. But you are not going to believe what this tastes like. If you'll toast some of that with a little bit of salted sweet cream butter on the top of it, better yet, turn it into French toast in the morning, it will absolutely blow your mind. This is a wonderful seasonal dish, a pumpkin apple gingerbread from me to you, Ben Starr from MasterChef Season 2. And if you want to improve your skills in your home kitchen, check out the MasterChef cooking classes at Le Cordon Bleu. Thanks and have a great day.